Hey guys, so today I will be reviewing the History Channel branded video game Civil War Secret Missions. Civil War Secret Missions was developed by Cauldron and published by Activision in 2008, 2 years after the release of its predecessor, Civil War: A Nation Divided. The game was released for Xbox 360, PlayStation 2 and 3, and the PC. Personally, my favorite platform to play this on is the Xbox 360, mainly because of its in-game leaderboards. And just for the record, I currently hold the #1 global score. I've also attempted speedruns for every mission and spent a ridiculous amount of time trying to master every objective, every route, and every little nuance this game has to offer. So, the two History Channel Civil War games stood out in their era for being the only two first-person shooters on console with an American Civil War theme, especially when so many other franchises were milking the World War II theme to death like Medal of Honor and Call of Duty. Here's a side-by-side look at the two games. Overall, Civil War Secret Missions is a noticeable step up from its predecessor, A Nation Divided. The gameplay feels significantly more fluid and faster paced. There aren't any more of those super slow reloading muskets that were a hallmark of Civil War: A Nation Divided. Some of the weapons feel a lot more fun to use than they did in A Nation Divided. For example, there were some neat sniper segments I enjoyed, and the sharp sniper rifle feels so satisfying to use. The game's biggest change of pace comes in the form of full-blown rail shooter missions where you man the cannon on the side of an ironclad gunboat. 2 of the 11 missions are rail shooters where you man these types of cannons. It can be a bit hard to get used to, but I enjoyed the challenge. That being said, these missions don't offer a ton of depth and are pretty short. In my opinion, the game's biggest improvement from its predecessor are the graphics. For example, see here for this beautifully modeled scenery. The graphics are legit Xbox 360 caliber, which is unfortunately something that can't be said for A Nation Divided. I distinctly remember thinking how bad the graphics were for A Nation Divided when I first fired it up on Xbox 360. Civil War Secret Missions, while nothing extraordinary, is a vast improvement. That said, Civil War Secret Missions still plays like a very generic first-person shooter made using the same copy and paste template used by countless other FPS titles of that era. Highly linear levels, basic enemy AI, and mission design that doesn't take many risks. On top of that, the game is incredibly short, especially the final mission, which feels very rushed and anticlimactic. The game's biggest selling point is its unique historical theme, not its core gameplay. If the Civil War setting isn't something that specifically interests you, there are definitely better first-person shooter options out there. As mentioned earlier, I've played this game a lot, and I currently hold the record for both high score and enemies killed. In order to achieve this, I actually had to farm an enemy spawn point in one of the missions for well over an hour. This wasn't exactly easy, as I often had to expose myself to enemy fire to obtain extra ammo. This huge pile of rifles was the result of hundreds of enemies killed in this spot. I did also have a great time trying to speedrun each of the missions, especially because the game records your fastest time. I highly recommend checking out my speedrun series of this game, where I showcase my fastest time in each mission. I do want to mention that the ragdoll physics in this game can be pretty hilarious. They can provide for some unintentionally funny acrobatics and some nice comic relief. Just look at this guy. In conclusion, Civil War Secret Missions is a very generic first-person shooter that doesn't really offer much to set itself apart other than its Civil War theme. It really does feel like your run-of-the-mill World War II shooter from the 2000s, only this time with the Civil War skin. If the theme isn't something that really appeals to you, you're probably better off finding a different shooter to play that isn't as incredibly average. My final verdict on Civil War Secret Missions is a 3 stars out of 5.